Anda kembali di CNN Indonesia Bisnis. Mengejar pertumbuhan ekonomi yang sudah tinggi, relatif tinggi, sudah seharusnya dibarengi dengan penyediaan energi. Salah satu alternatif sumber energi adalah dengan membangun pembangkit listrik tenaga nuklir. Apakah Indonesia sudah siap dengan teknologi? Salah satunya adalah nuklir yang diklaim mampu menyediakan energi jauh lebih murah dibandingkan dengan pembangkit energi lainnya. Koresponden CNN Indonesia Pangeran Punce berbincang dengan Deputy CEO Rosatom dengan kesiapan ataupun juga mengenai kesiapan BUMN Nuklir Rusia ini membangun PLTN di tanah air.
Okay, Mr. Komarov, thank you so much for joining with CNN Indonesia.
Thank you.
First of all, why is Rosatom interested working together with Indonesia?
Indonesia is one of the most fast developing countries in Southeast Asia and needs a lot of energy, first of all, because you cannot imagine the development of economy without development of energy. And we know, and you know definitely better than me, that it's still a huge deficit of energy facilities in Indonesia. Now it's a very big question for the government of Indonesia, for the people of Indonesia, what should be the right source of such energy. Because on one side, you need a reliable and cheap source of energy. On another side, you need to think how to fulfill the Paris Climate Conference solution and to reduce CO2 emission. Because people now are more and more asking not just about energy itself, but what kind of source of energy is it? How safe is it? How good is it for the health of people? And it's a combination of a question where nuclear can be a very reliable and good solution, because on one side it's a really cheap energy. It's a big myth that nuclear is most expensive. It depends how to calculate it, and you should calculate it properly. Definitely, if you talking only about capital investments, it's a huge amount of money. It's amount of money. It's approximately 10 billion American dollars per 2 units each with capacity 1,200 megawatt. But at the same time, if you calculate the levelized cost of electricity on the whole life cycle of the plant, and modern nuclear power plants are constructed in a logic that they will be in operation minimum 60 years, and afterwards, if you operate it in a normal way, you can even continue it for next 20 or 30 years. The levelized cost of electricity is the most cheap in the world. It's still so much more cheaper than renewables and much more cheaper than fossil sources of energy like coal and gas.
Okay, how's the Indonesian government reaction with your interest to working together here?
You know, first of all, Indonesian government doesn't exclude the opportunity to construct finally the nuclear power plant in a country. It's not the number one in the agenda, but it's not excluded. And if you look at the energy policy of the country approved by the government, the opportunity to construct nuclear power plant is in the agenda. I think the biggest question now is to come to detailed analysis. What does it mean to construct a plant? How long it can be? What kind of resources government needs to do it? Because it's not just a question, definitely, it's not just a question of money. It's a question how to prepare the whole infrastructure, legislation, independent regulator, staff experienced to work on the plant. But we, as Rosatom, being a very experienced company working already more than 70 years in nuclear industry, we are ready to provide all the assistance to be able to achieve this goal. And Indonesia is not the first country who is just a newcomer in nuclear energy. First of all, Indonesia is not a newcomer in nuclear, because you have your Batan, you have your research nuclear activities already many years. But to make a step in nuclear energy, it's definitely a serious step, and government should think seriously, should have time for such consideration, how to do it, when to do it, and how the whole process should be organized.
Okay, you mentioned Batan. In 2015, Rosatom and Batan had an agreement for a potential nuclear power plant here in Indonesia. So can you tell me more about this?
We are working with Batan because Batan today is only one authority on the territory of Indonesia who can be our counterparty. Your government didn't appoint a company who should be totally responsible for the nuclear power plant construction. That's why today we are talking with Batan. We are assisting them, we are providing them an information, what does it mean the construction. We are working with them together on a potential sites, and we know that on the territory of Indonesia there are several places where nuclear power plant can be constructed. Definitely it depends on the forecast for economic growth, for the forecast of energy demand in specific regions. That's why it's now maybe a time to think what should be the specific site for nuclear power plant.
Okay, so far, how are the challenges that you, Rosatom and Batan, maybe meet now to really, get your target, get your goals here in Indonesia?
First of all, I think it's not just our target. I hope that it should be our common target with the Indonesian government. I talked a lot with the different government authorities, with the different people in Indonesia, and what I see that from all point of view, from technical point of view, from legislation point of view, from infrastructure point of view, Indonesia is fully ready for the construction of nuclear power plant.
Okay.
And the mission of International Atomic Energy Agency, which was how many? 8 years ago, told that 8 years ago Indonesia already was ready for the start of construction. Just one element was missing, this company responsible for the construction, but it's not so difficult task to establish such a company. Means I think from all point of view you are ready to the start of new build. The only one concern that I hear very often especially from officials, it's a concern about public acceptance. But I believe that it's a case which can be overrun. First of all, if you look in a survey which Batan makes every year, the level of support of nuclear development in the country is quite high. More than 75% of people are not against nuclear, and it's a very good as a start for the nuclear development as a country. At the same time, nuclear acceptance, public acceptance, it's not something, stayed alone. It's a subject whom you can work with. Means you should be very open, you should provide people direct information, you should answer questions, you should be able to explain that nuclear energy is not just a source of energy, but it's a huge advantage for the economical growth of the company, by the GDP growth of the company, by the growth of skills of people, the new high technologies available in the country. You should explain it to the people, and if people understand it, they support you. I can give you one example from Russian existence today. Definitely we also have an annual survey of what people are thinking about nuclear, and we're working very hard on it, making TV shows, explaining people, organizing tours for journalists on our facilities. And the level of support in Russia is quite similar like in Indonesia, 75%.
Okay, but how do you convince the Indonesian? Because Indonesian is, if you compare with Russian, is quite different here.
Sorry, I don't agree with you, because I'm really often in Indonesia. I like this country, and believe me, people in all countries are quite similar, and you just need to be adequate with them, you need to be open with them. And Indonesia is not a unique country who just steps in nuclear energy development. Look at Bangladesh, the country is not far away from Indonesia, also in Southeast Asia. They just started a process of nuclear construction really seriously, because previous year it was the first concrete on the first nuclear unit in Bangladesh. Believe me, we face in Bangladesh the same sort of myths, fears, stereotypes, but if you work carefully with people, if you are open, if you provide them information and explain what kind of advantages they can have.
Okay, if the commercial nuclear power plant is really happening in the future, do you already have the business plan, where is going to be, and then how many investment that you're going to invest here in Indonesia, and then what kind of technology that you will use?
No, first of all, it depends on the solution of government of Indonesia. And it's not just solution to start a program, and it's not just a solution what will be the first site for construction. It's also a solution what kind of model, business model, government of Indonesia wants to use. Because today, two models exist.
Okay.
One is so-called government-to-government relations, when government of Indonesia and government of Russia come to a conclusion, sign some treaty, sign some treaty about intergovernmental loan, and it's maybe the most efficient and most fastest way and most cheapest way how to construct a nuclear power plant in ownership of the government of Indonesia for the money provided by Russian government, covering, for example, 80% of the total amount of construction. and it will be the cheapest source of energy. And we use such a model in different countries, in Bangladesh, which I mentioned, in India, in Belarus, in Egypt, for example. Our biggest contract was signed in Egypt just in December for 4 units. The second model, like we work in Turkey, for example, it's a model of real investment. Means we are owner of nuclear power plant, and government just signed with us a power purchase agreement for the fixed price, for fixed time period, just to make us available to return our investment. And it depends. Both models are available for Indonesia. We see sustainable deficit of energy. You are growing country, growing economy. You need more and more electricity. That's why we see both models are possible. It's just a solution of your government what is more important for them, because for a lot of government in different countries it's very important to control nuclear area like an area of special safety, special security, and we share this approach. Maybe it's better to keep, especially the first nuclear power plant in a country, maybe it's better to keep it in the ownership of the country.
Okay, but in your opinion, what is the best model for Indonesia?
I think the first one. With the intergovernmental relations, intergovernmental loan, and ownership by the government of Indonesia. It's the most cheapest and most reliable model.
Okay, with business plan, do you already have like maybe in your mind that what is going to be the model here in Indonesia, and where is the location, like how much investment that you will invest here?
You know, we are working now on 40 units abroad, and we have such huge experience that immediately after your government is ready to start some real discussion and real dialogue, we are ready to provide different scenarios, different models, different forms of financial funding. It's just up to the Indonesian government.
Okay, do you have plan to push the government to talk about this and then let's do it? Like, no. do you have plan to talk to the government about this?
I do not see my task as pushing. I cannot push. I respectfully the Indonesian government. I do not believe that somebody can push foreign government. I see my task only as a position of explanation, providing a solution, and it's up to Indonesian government to decide.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Komarov, for joining with Simak Indonesia.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.